All right. Ready to dive into something really mind-bending?
I'm always up for a challenge.
Excellent. So today we're going deep on Islamic eschatology.
And the day stuff.
That's it, but with a twist. We're checking out this lecture by an Islamic scholar. He thinks the Quran, like specifically Surah Kahf, has hints about time travel.
Time travel. In the Quran.
Yeah, and like hidden portals and all this stuff tied to the end times.
I mean, I know interpretations can change over time, right?
For sure. But get this. He links those concepts to Dajjal.
Dajjal. Okay, so we're talking Islamic Antichrist, right?
Basically, yeah. And Yajuj Majuj, too. Gog and Magog, that whole deal.
So full-on apocalyptic scenarios.
Right. But here's the thing. He's not just saying, believe it because it's written. He's trying to connect it to, like, our modern understanding of the universe.
Now, that's interesting. So he's trying to ground it in something a bit more scientific.
Exactly. It's like, could there be a hidden meaning in these ancient texts?
Yeah.
Something we can only see now with our understanding of physics and cosmology and all that.
I'm intrigued. So where does he even begin with this?
Well, he starts with the Prophet Muhammad. Like, the scholar suggests that Jewish scholars in Medina, they anticipated his arrival way before it happened.
So like a prophecy kind of thing.
Right. He claims they found clues in their own scriptures, believing in the Akhiri Nabi, the final prophet.
A final prophet. That's super interesting. So it connects to that whole idea of messianic figures, right? Across Judaism, Christianity, even Islam. This shared anticipation of some major figure.
Totally. And it gets even wilder. He tells a story about a prominent rabbi and his daughter, or maybe it was his niece, I can't remember. But anyway, they recognize the Prophet Muhammad based on, like, descriptions they'd read.
Wow, that's like having foreknowledge, glimpsing the future or something. But how does Surah Kahf, the 18th chapter of the Quran, fit into all this?
That's where it gets really interesting. The scholar believes Jewish scholars actually use Surah Kahf to test the Prophet Muhammad.
To test him. Like, what do you know about this?
Exactly. It's like they knew it held some profound secrets, especially about the end times. Like, they were looking for a deeper understanding within all that allegorical language.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got this mysterious surah with hidden knowledge about the future. Where do we go from here?
Well, one of the most famous stories in Surah Kahf is about the people of the cave. You know, those young guys who hid in a cave to escape persecution?
Oh, yeah. They slept for, what was it, 309 years?
Yep. Traditionally, it's seen as God protecting believers, showing his power.
Right, right. But I have a feeling this scholar sees it a bit differently.
You bet. He thinks it could be evidence of time travel. Like, they entered a portal or a wormhole right there in that cave.
Time travel in the Quran. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Does he have anything to back that up, though? It seems like a big leap.
He points to certain parts of the Quran. For example, it says God turned them over in their sleep.
Oh, interesting.
He's suggesting this wasn't just like repositioning them, more like manipulating their spot in space-time.
Hold on, let me wrap my head around that. So he's saying God used some kind of time dilation effect on them. That's a pretty heavy concept.
Right. And there's more. The Quran says their bodies didn't age in those centuries, and when they woke up, they were super disoriented, trying to use old money.
Oh, wow. So he's connecting all those details to modern theories about time, like they didn't actually experience all that time passing.
Exactly. He's finding these parallels between the story and how we understand time now. It's pretty wild.
It is. But it's fascinating, right? Like, what if there really is knowledge in those ancient texts that we're only just starting to understand with our modern science?
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it?
For sure. It challenges those traditional interpretations.
Okay, so we've got time travel, we've got portals, we got the Quran potentially hinting at all this. What else does this scholar connect it to?
Well, he brings Dajjal into the mix, remember him? That figure who deceives everyone in the end times.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
But here's where it gets even more relevant to us today.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does an ancient deceiver connect to us in the 21st century?
The scholar thinks Dajjal won't just be some charismatic liar, He believes Dajjal will use super advanced technology to deceive people.
Whoa, okay, so not just fire and brimstone. We're talking like tech-savvy Dajjal.
Exactly. He compares it to all our anxieties about AI, deep fakes, all that misinformation spreading online.
So it's like that potential for technology to be used for bad, but on a massive scale.
Right. And he's suggesting that what ancient texts might have seen as miracles or supernatural powers could actually be future tech that we haven't even invented yet.
That's a chilling thought. It makes you wonder, are we already seeing some of that deception in our world right now? Like, are we already on that path?
It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to unpack in this deep dive.
All right, we're back. And I gotta say, all this time travel and portal talk is really messing with my head. But I'm ready for more. How about you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's still so much to unpack here. Like, we got to talk more about these hidden portals on Earth.
You mean like actually existing gateways to other dimensions? Are you serious?
The scholar seems to think so. He suggests there could be remnants of some crazy ancient tech or maybe even natural phenomena that create these portals. And get this, he thinks they could be hiding in plain sight.
Wait, so you're saying there could be a portal to another dimension right here? And I wouldn't even know it. That's kind of terrifying, but also kind of awesome.
Right. It makes you think about those unexplained things we hear about, those places where physics gets wonky or people just vanish.
Yeah.
What if those are signs of portals?
Man, that's a trip. And it makes me think of all those myths and legends, right? About gateways to other worlds and people disappearing. Maybe they weren't just stories after all.
That's what's so cool about this scholar's take. It gives those stories a whole new meaning. And it makes you wonder, what if these portals aren't just random? What if they're linked to specific spots, like where Gog and Magog are trapped? Remember him saying that?
Oh yeah, about Zulkarnain's wall being a barrier to another dimension. Could there be other portals like that, leading to different places, maybe even different times?
That's a fascinating question. It really opens up the possibilities.
Hmm.
And if those portals connect to Gog and Magog's realm, what do they say about them?
Right. Are they really demons, like some interpretations say? Or could they be something else entirely, like aliens or beings from another dimension or something?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the scholar doesn't really give us a definite answer. He's just presenting the idea,
Yeah.
like expanding what Gog and Magog could represent.
It's like he's saying, hey, don't limit your thinking. This universe is vast, and we might be sharing it with things we can't even comprehend.
I love that. And don't forget, he connects the release of Gog and Magog to the portal's barrier weakening. So what could cause that?
Yeah, he mentioned a few things, right? Like some crazy tech advancements or maybe a change in Earth's magnetic field or something.
Right. So imagine this. What if we, humans, trying to be all advanced and stuff, accidentally figure out how to mess with those portals? Or, even worse, weaken the barriers without realizing it?
Dude, that's a scary thought. Like something straight out of sci-fi, but then again, so much of what we're talking about already feels like sci-fi, doesn't it?
It totally does. And that kind of leads to another interesting point. This scholar's interpretations, they really blur the line between science and spirituality.
I noticed that too. He's constantly mixing ancient scripture with all these modern scientific concepts, like they're two sides of the same coin or something.
Exactly. And it's not just him, right? It's becoming a thing these days, people trying to connect quantum physics to consciousness or ancient mystical traditions to how the universe works.
Yeah, like we're rediscovering the power of imagination, looking beyond what traditional science or religion tell us.
I think you're right. And this scholar's work is a perfect example of that. He's not afraid to speculate.
Right.
To connect seemingly random ideas and make us rethink what we believe about reality.
But it's not all just mind-blowing theories, right? He seems to be saying there are real-world consequences to all of this, especially for Muslims.
Absolutely. Remember, he said understanding those concepts, time travel, portals, it's crucial for Muslims when it comes to the end times. He's basically saying this isn't just some abstract knowledge, it's practical. Like it can help us prepare for what's coming.
Yeah, he said that, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the practical part. Like, what are we supposed to do with this information?
I know, it gets a little tricky there.
Okay.
He doesn't really give us a step-by-step guide. But I think he's trying to encourage a certain mindset, a way of looking at the world that's both grounded in ancient wisdom, but also open to new possibilities.
So it's more about being aware, like spiritually prepared for whatever
I
happens.
think that's a good way to put it. Like, be vigilant, pay attention to the signs, and be ready to adapt to whatever comes our way. He even hinted that knowing about this stuff, time travel, portals, could help us tell the truth from lies, especially in a world where deception is getting so advanced.
Ah, I see. Connecting it back to Dajjal and how technology could be used to trick us.
Right. Like he's saying, don't be naive. The Quran and other ancient texts, they might have clues about navigating the future, but we got to be open to interpreting them in new ways.
You know, it's funny. We started talking about Islamic eschatology, the end of the world and all that. But now it feels like it's about something much bigger, like something that goes beyond any one religion.
I agree. It's like we're having this huge conversation about the nature of reality itself, about the mysteries of time, about whether human consciousness can go beyond what we currently understand.
This is getting deep, man. And we've covered so much, but there's got to be more, right? What else did this scholar talk about?
Hold on, before we jump into something new, let's go back to the people of the caves for a
Hmm.
second. I think there's another layer to that story we haven't really touched on, something that connects to all this time and consciousness stuff.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did we miss about those cave guys?
Remember how we talked about God turning them over in their sleep, and how this scholar interprets that as messing with their position in space-time?
Yeah, like they were stuck in some time dilation field or something.
Exactly. Now think about this. The Quran specifically mentions a dog guarding the entrance to the cave.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. What about it?
Well, the scholar thinks that detail is important. He suggests that the dog might have been affected by the time distortion, too.
Wait, you mean the dog was in suspended animation as well? For 309 years?
That's what he's saying. He even points out how the people of the cave, when they finally woke up, tried to buy food with outdated currency. They had no idea that much time had passed.
Right, like they were in a time capsule or something. But how does that connect to the dog?
Think about it. If the dog was also affected by the time distortion, it means it didn't experience those 309 years either. Time just jumped forward for both the people and the dog.
Man, that's heavy. It's like they were frozen in time together and then suddenly thrown back into a world that had totally changed without them.
Exactly. And this brings us to a big part of this scholar's whole interpretation, the link between time and consciousness. He's suggesting that how we perceive time, how we experience it, could be a lot more flexible than we think.
So it's not just about time physically passing, but how our minds deal with it.
Exactly. Like, what if time isn't as linear as we think? What if our consciousness plays a part in shaping how we experience it? Maybe there are states of being, like what those cave dwellers went through, where time just doesn't exist the way we know it.
Whoa, okay, now you're really blowing my mind. It's like we're talking about quantum physics and stuff. Like, could our consciousness be connected to the fabric of reality?
It's a wild concept, right?
Yeah.
And it brings up so many questions, like if we can influence how we perceive time, can we control it? Could we somehow tap into those states where time becomes irrelevant?
Those are some big questions, man. I don't know if I'm ready for those answers.
I hear ya. It's a lot to take in. But I think the point is to be open to the idea that our understanding of time might be wrong, that there might be more to it than we see.
You know, it's crazy. We started with Islamic eschatology, but this feels like something much bigger now, like something universal.
I totally agree. It's like this scholar is using the Quran to explore some of the deepest mysteries there are, mysteries that humans have been trying to understand for centuries.
It's like he's saying, hey, don't dismiss those ancient texts as just stories. They might have profound truths hidden within them, truths we're just now starting to grasp.
And that's a powerful message, no matter what you believe. It's a call to approach those ancient texts with curiosity, to look beyond the surface and find those hidden gems of wisdom.
This whole deep dive has been an incredible journey, man. What else does this scholar explore?
Well, we've covered the people of the cave, Dajjal, Zulkarnain, and Gog and Magog. But there's another big part of Islamic eschatology he talks about, something super relevant to time travel and the end times.
Okay, you got my attention. What is it?
He talks about the Mahdi, that messianic figure in Islam, the one who's supposed to show up at the end of times and set everything right.
Yeah, I know about the Mahdi. What's so special about his take on him?
He connects the Mahdi's arrival to time manipulation. He even suggests that the Mahdi might be able to travel through time, like appearing at different points in history to guide humanity.
Hold up, are you saying the Mahdi could be a time traveler, like some kind of Doctor Who, but on a spiritual mission?
It sounds crazy, right? But that's basically what he's proposing. He even mentions certain hadiths, those sayings and traditions from the Prophet Muhammad that hint at the Mahdi being able to mess with time and appear in different eras.
Whoa, that's wild. I always thought the Mahdi just shows up in the future, but you're saying he could be jumping around the timeline, influencing things throughout history?
That's the implication. And it brings up so many crazy questions, like if he can travel through time, has he already been here? Did he already play a part in shaping human history?
And if he can appear whenever he wants, does that mean he can change the past too? Like, could he prevent certain things from happening or guide us towards a different outcome?
Those are some really good questions. And the scholar doesn't shy away from them. He suggests that the Mahdi's time powers might be part of some big cosmic plan, a way of making sure humanity stays on the right track towards its ultimate destiny.
This is getting really heavy, man. Like, are we talking about destiny and free will? Like, our lives are controlled by forces we don't even understand.
It's deep stuff, for sure. And it challenges what we think about time and history. What if the past, present, and future are all connected in ways we can't even imagine? What if the Mahdi's job is to navigate all of that, making sure everything happens according to a divine plan?
Dude, I feel like we're falling down the rabbit hole here. This is getting deeper and deeper.
You're not wrong. But that's what makes this whole deep dive so cool, right? It's making us think outside the box. Consider things that might seem crazy at first, but could lead to a whole new understanding of the universe and our place in it.
You know, it's interesting. We started with Islamic eschatology, the end of the world and all that. But it's turned into something so much more. It's like a conversation about the nature of reality itself.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just talking about the end of the world anymore. We're talking about time, consciousness, the limits of our understanding, all these big ideas, and we're not done yet.
Okay, hit me with it. What else is there?
There's one more piece of this puzzle we got to explore. Something that ties everything together. The Akira, the hereafter.
All right, I'm ready for the grand finale. What does this scholar say about the afterlife, especially with all this time travel and dimension hopping we've been talking about?
Well, he suggests that what we normally think about the Akira, like a realm beyond time and space, might need some rethinking.
Yeah.
Given all this new knowledge about reality, he even proposes that maybe the Akira isn't a separate place at all, but another dimension, or even a different point in time.
Wait, are you saying heaven and hell could be in other dimensions? Or in the future? That's insane.
It sounds crazy, I know. But remember, this scholar is all about challenging our assumptions. He's saying, hey, maybe the Akira isn't as simple as we've always thought.
My mind is officially blown. What else does he say about the Akira? This is the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night, you know?
He suggests that what we do in this life, our actions, they might have consequences that ripple through time, affecting not just our souls in the afterlife, but reality itself. He even says the Akira could be a place where time as we know it doesn't exist, where past, present, and future are all one.
Whoa, that's heavy, man. Like, our choices here matter on a cosmic level, like they shape eternity.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what if we could tap into that eternal state, the Akira, while we're still alive? What if there are ways, like practices or even technologies, that can let us experience that timeless reality?
Okay, now we're getting really out there, like talking about enlightenment and mystical experiences merging with the divine and all that.
It's true. And this scholar isn't afraid to explore those deep mysteries. He's saying, hey, maybe what we understand about life, death, and the afterlife is way more connected and expansive than we realize.
This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing. We've covered so much, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface. I need a minute to process all this.
I'm with you. Let's take a break here. We'll wrap things up in part 3, where we'll talk about what all this means for us living in the 21st century and explore some of the big questions this scholar raises about reality and the search for truth.
Okay, we've been deep down the rabbit hole, man. Time travel, hidden portals, the Akira in another dimension, the Mahdi as a time traveler. My head's still spinning.
I know, right? It's been quite a journey exploring all those wild concepts from this scholar's take on Islamic eschatology. But let's bring it back down to earth for a bit.
Yeah, a little grounding would be good after all that cosmic stuff. So, like, what does all this mean for us, living in the 21st century?
Well, one big takeaway for me is that the Quran, and maybe other ancient texts too, could have knowledge that we're only just starting to understand now because of modern science.
It's like he's saying, don't ignore those old texts. There's a whole other level of meaning there if we just look at them with fresh eyes, and try to connect the dots.
Exactly. It's not just about figuring out prophecies or predicting the future. It's about asking those big questions about reality, about time and consciousness, about what even exists.
It's almost like he wants us to be like explorers, not of physical places, but of our minds and the universe.
I like that. That's totally the vibe I get from his work. He wants us to go on this journey of discovery, to question everything, embrace what we don't know, and understand ourselves and our place in the grand scheme of things better.
One thing that's been really cool about this deep dive is how it challenges that idea that science and spirituality are like enemies or something.
Totally agree. This scholar blends science and theology so smoothly, like they're not fighting each other, but actually helping us understand the universe better together.
It's like he's saying, don't limit yourself to just one way of thinking. Use both logic and intuition, Look at things scientifically and spiritually.
And by doing that, maybe we unlock a deeper understanding a bigger picture of reality that includes the stuff we can see and the stuff we can't, the physical and the metaphysical.
Man, this deep dive has really made me think differently. Like, I'm seeing the world in a new way, noticing how everything's connected and how much mystery is all around us.
That's what I love about exploring these big ideas. It can totally change your perspective, open you up to new possibilities, and make you feel that sense of awe about the world again.
So, as we wrap up this amazing deep dive, what's the main thing you want our listeners to take away from all this Islamic eschatology stuff?
Don't be afraid to ask the big questions.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from the mysteries. Embrace the unknown.
And remember, the answers might be closer than you think. Hidden in plain sight, like in those ancient stories we've been talking about, just waiting for us to rediscover them with an open mind and an open heart.
I love that. This whole deep dive has been a great reminder that searching for truth is a journey, an exploration that never really ends.
And who knows what we'll find along the way?
The universe is huge and full of surprises, and the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
So, to our listeners out there, here's a final thought to ponder. What if the end of the world, as we think of it, isn't about everything being destroyed? What if it's actually a huge transformation, a shift in consciousness, a kind of awakening to a greater reality?
And what if it's not something to be afraid of, but a chance for growth, for evolution, for becoming the best versions of ourselves?
Those are some big questions to think about. Keep exploring these ideas and embark on your own journey of discovery. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.